Caitlin is a player who can play on and off the ball. Raven is a point guard that primarily has had the ball in her hands, and so I think it gives us some versatility, thankfully.
But I have to say, I don't think I understand what the Indiana Fever front office were doing when they picked Raven Johnson at number 10.
But it hasn't. There are still people who seemingly, to me, feel like they just don't want Caitlin to be a part of it. Because with Caitlin comes millions and millions and millions of more eyeballs.
Caitlin Clark just sent shockwaves through the WNBA after what fans are calling the Indiana Fever's disaster draft. The reaction was emotional, chaotic, and full of frustration as questions exploded about the team's direction. And now, her bombshell moment has only made the pressure inside Indiana even more intense.
With the 10th pick in the 2026 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever select Raven Johnson from the University of...
The Indiana Fever just drafted a player who averaged 6 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for their college career. I get it. I actually get it.
The Indiana Fever. Selecting Raven Johnson at number 10 immediately split opinion, and it wasn't a quiet reaction at all. The moment the pick was announced, people questioned the logic because it didn't match what the roster clearly needed. A guard who averaged around 6 points in college being taken in the top 10 felt like a decision that raised more questions than answers. Fans didn't wait to analyze slowly, they reacted instantly, and most of it centered around one idea: confusion about direction.
It feels to me like the Indiana Fever are making every single move based on winning without Caitlin Clark. We said it last year as well.
The Indiana Fever have the biggest star in not just basketball, but in women's sports, in all of women's sports. Look, one could argue Caitlin Clark's in the top 3 biggest stars in all of basketball.
That confusion becomes even louder when you look at the situation around Caitlin Clark. Everything in Indiana now runs through her presence. She is not just the star, she is the system the entire team is expected to build around.
Caitlin Clark is a point guard who primarily has had the ball in her hands her entire life. What are you talking about? Caitlin Clark can play on the ball, off the ball. Raven Johnson is been a point guard with the ball in her hands. Hold on. I know you're not trying to put Caitlin Clark off ball.
And so every move gets judged based on one thing. Does this help her dominate, or does it make things more complicated? And this pick pushed that question right back into focus.
In a vacuum, I don't think Raven Johnson as a 10th pick is that bad. But that is in a vacuum. It doesn't take into account that the Indiana Fever have probably spent $700K on Ty Harris.
Burn this front office. You guys are stupid. Treat your team as a rehab for other losers. The bitch is not welcome. Woo-wee!
The problem fans are pointing to is not just Raven Johnson as a player, it's the pattern. The Fever keep adding guards to a roster that already has multiple ball handlers. Ty Harris is already in the mix, and now Raven Johnson enters the same space. That creates overlap instead of clarity. Too many players needing touches in the same areas of the floor, and not enough balance in size or spacing.
They don't know what they're doing. They're incapable of making sound decisions. They have no foresight. They have no thought. They have no rhyme. They have no reason. They have no idea. They have no clue. They are incapable. They are incompetent.
This is where the frustration starts building. Because while the guard rotation keeps getting deeper, other areas of the roster feel untouched. There is still a lack of strong wing presence, consistent front court support, and versatile size that can balance out playoff-level matchups. Instead of fixing those gaps, the team keeps stacking similar skill sets.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is arguably the biggest sports drafting malpractice I've ever seen.
And that leads to the bigger concern. The roster doesn't look like it has a clear identity. It doesn't fully commit to being a high-paced shooting team, and it also doesn't lean into size or defensive dominance. It sits in between, trying to cover multiple directions at once without locking into one strong system.
There are an awful lot of moves that the Fever are making that seem to be how our team can function when Caitlin Clark isn't on the field.
There's Caitlin waving Raven Johnson off. What the heck are you guys doing?
Some fans interpret this as planning for situations where Caitlin Clark is off the floor, building backup options for ball handling and control. But the issue is that when you overbuild insurance plans around your best player, you risk weakening the system built for her strengths. Instead of maximizing her impact, you spread responsibility across too many similar guards, which can slow down rhythm and reduce offensive clarity.
Something told me as I'm watching this draft unfold, Lauren Betts slides to 4, Jaquez goes to Chicago at 5, Flaugier goes to the Valkyrie. I'm thinking to myself, yo, we're really about to draft this person. We are really about to draft this person. I knew Stephanie White. I knew it.
That's why this draft pick hit harder than a normal selection. It wasn't just about talent evaluation, it was about direction. People are asking whether this roster is being built with a clear plan around Caitlin Clark's prime years, or whether it's being assembled reactively, piece by piece, without a full system in place.
Man, bro, I can't deal with this. I'm done. I'm out. Fire this lady, man. What are you talking about? Raven Johnson is a player that's played. Raven Johnson is a point guard that's actually had the ball in her hands. Caitlin Clark, she can play on the ball, off the ball. What are you talking about, Stephanie White?
Right now, the concern is simple. Too many guards, not enough balance, and a star player whose strengths demand a very clear structure that still doesn't fully exist.
In the 2026 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever have selected the person that got waved off because they can't shoot, the person that was on the floor as UCLA is putting belt to South Carolina's ass.
The frustration around Indiana right now is not just about one draft pick. It's about the feeling that there is no clear direction from the front office. And that's why people keep pointing fingers at leadership, coaching decisions, and the overall structure. Because from the outside looking in, it doesn't feel like a smooth plan. It feels like pieces being added without a full picture.
But just 2 weeks after gaslighting, running her mouth about the Caitlin Clark fan base, calling her slurs.
You look at the Fever's recent moves, and it's hard to describe one consistent identity. One moment, it looks like they're building around veteran guards.
The Indiana Fever decided to bring this player into their locker room.
Next moment, they're drafting younger guards with similar skill sets. Then another signing shows up that overlaps with the last one. It's like the roster keeps circling the same positions instead of filling real gaps.
I could not. Speechless. Absolutely incompetent. The Indiana Fever are getting destroyed.
And that's where the confusion builds. Because normally, teams have a clear direction. Either you're stacking shooting, or you're building size, or you're going all in on defense. But here, it feels mixed. A little of everything, but not enough of anything to clearly define the team. That's why people keep saying there's no real identity. Not because the players are bad, but because the puzzle doesn't look complete. And when a roster doesn't have a clear identity, every new move gets questioned harder. Even the ones that might make sense in isolation. The Raven Johnson pick became the perfect example of that.
Crushed, annihilated by the fan base. Yeah. What are we doing?
The monkey or this, I don't know, like it was just things like that. And I just think I wanted to quit basketball at that time. And I wanted to just...
On paper, you can understand it. A defensive-minded guard, someone who competes, someone who can pressure the ball. That sounds useful. Nobody is arguing that defense isn't important. But the issue is timing and fit. When you already have multiple guards on the roster, another guard with limited offensive output raises eyebrows immediately.
She's set the tone at every level. She's immediately ready on the defensive end of the floor, which is something that we need. We need somebody who can come in and make an impact on that end of the floor. She's been a true point guard, playing for the greatest point guard that's played the game.
And that's where the debate split. Some people said it's a system fit. Others said it's a reach, and honestly, both sides are reacting to the same problem from different angles. One side is trying to see structure, the other side is seeing confusion.
This is what I mean, bro. The lady has got to go. She's got to go, y'all. I'm gonna bring that back some, man.
Just Ravens' defensive versatility.
Well, we're not speaking those into existence anymore. But I think it helps because Ty is a player who's a combo who can play on and off the ball.
Because when you look at what fans expected at that pick, it wasn't just another guard. People were expecting balance. A wing, a shooter, size, something that changes the shape of the roster. Instead, it felt like the team doubled down on an already crowded area. And that's why the questions started spreading fast. Was this truly the best available player, or was this a case of the front office trying to force a system that doesn't quite fit the roster they already have?
Yeah, Leah Boston, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell. I think I learned a lot from them. I'm gonna be a sponge. I'm probably gonna be a gnat too because I'm gonna ask them a lot of questions. I'm probably gonna get on their nerves too because of my personality. I like to joke a little bit, but honestly, they win. They like to win, and I think that's really big when looking at a program like that.
That question is important because it ties directly into how the team is being built. If you draft based on need, you fix weaknesses. If you draft based on system confusion, you end up stacking similar pieces that don't necessarily solve anything. And then you bring Caitlin Clark into the center of all of this, and everything becomes even more intense.
Fire them all! Is this for real or are we joking? What the actual F is happening? The whole front office gotta go at this point.
Because she is not just another star. She is the reason the spotlight is this bright in the first place. So naturally, every roster decision ends up orbiting around her. And that's where the pressure starts building in a different way. After the draft, the reaction around Caitlin Clark wasn't even about what she said directly. It was about what she didn't say, how she reacted, how things were interpreted. Every small detail gets magnified. A facial expression, a pause, a lack of comment. Suddenly, it becomes a storyline.
You picked a girl that made fake racism allegations against the Clark fans. This front office is dumb as F. You all need firing on the spot.
Fans started reading between the lines. Some saw it as frustration. Some saw concern. Others started speculating whether there is quiet disagreement about how the roster is being built around her. And that's where things get emotionally heavier. Because when you are the face of a franchise, silence is never just silence. It turns into interpretation. And interpretation turns into narrative.
What are you smoking? Are you on something? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you talking about? This is insanity, man. This lady has lost it. This lady has lost it, man.
The pressure on her right now is massive. Not just to perform, but to carry expectation, attention, and now even roster debates that she didn't create. Everything gets attached to her presence, whether it's fair or not. And this is where the deeper concern comes in. Because if the roster direction feels unclear and the star player is already under this level of pressure, then the margin for error becomes very small. Every move starts to matter more, every decision gets louder, and every misstep becomes amplified.
I can't believe this. Ain't no way. Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
So now the situation is bigger than just a draft pick. It's about trust in direction. It's about whether the front office and coaching staff are truly aligned on how this team is supposed to function. And it's about whether the system being built actually matches the player it is supposed to support. Right now, that alignment is exactly what people are questioning the most.
and she's experienced. She's experienced in big time moments, and so really excited that she fell to us.
The moment another high-profile guard gets added into a locker room, the first thing people start thinking about is not talent, it's hierarchy. And that's exactly where the concern starts with Indiana. Because now you're not just talking about who can play, you're talking about who controls the ball, who sets the rhythm, and who actually gets to feel comfortable doing it.
No, I'm not going to come up here and blow smoke up your asses. Never in a million years am I going to do that. If I don't like something, I'm going to say it. This is dumb.
And let's be honest, basketball gets messy when roles aren't clear. You can have talented players all over the floor, but if 3 or 4 of them all naturally want the ball in their hands, something has to give. Either someone adjusts their game, or the system gets awkward. And right now, that's the fear people are pointing at.
And she's just a winner. And when you have players who understand what it takes to win, when they've been surrounded by greatness, throughout their entire career, they know how to play with other great players, and it's going to impact our team.
Because you already have established guards, already have ball handlers, already have players who need touches to stay effective. Now add another guard into that same space, and suddenly it's not about talent anymore. It's about overlap. It's about confusion. It's about someone looking around thinking, okay, so what exactly is my job here? And this is where locker rooms quietly get tested. Not in press conferences, not in interviews, but in those small in-between moments during games. Who brings the ball up? Who calls the set? Who takes control when things slow down? These are the details that decide whether a team feels smooth or slightly off rhythm.
Staying another year to be able to continue to grow on the offensive end of the floor, and you saw the work that she put in, and it's not going to be any different at this level. She's a very self-aware player. She understands her strengths, and she plays to her strengths. She thinks the game.
Because when roles are unclear, frustration doesn't always show up loudly. Sometimes it shows up in hesitation. Sometimes it shows up in missed timing. Sometimes it shows up in players just not looking fully comfortable, even when things are technically working. And this isn't new in basketball either. We've seen star-stacked teams before where everything looked amazing on paper, but the chemistry took time, sometimes too much time. And when expectations are already sky-high, patience usually isn't part of the package.
Forget Raven Johnson aside. We needed a 4, and you guys get a guard who we have no minutes for. Oh God! And yes, I have to just rub some people's nose in it a little bit.
That's why people are now asking a simple but uncomfortable question. Is this roster being built for chemistry, or is it being built for insurance? Because insurance sounds safe. You stack guards in case someone struggles, in case someone gets injured, in case the load gets heavy. But chemistry doesn't always work like that. Chemistry wants clarity. It wants defined roles. It wants players knowing exactly where they stand without guessing.
You could have taken the best player available at that time in Nell Angeloma. But this organization was fully convinced that they're shocked. They thought Raven was someone going to go 4 or 5.
And when you start leaning too heavily into just-in-case planning, you can accidentally blur the very structure that makes your star player effective in the first place. That leads straight into the fan reaction, which honestly has been anything but calm.
Yeah, I'm done with this team. Undraft her, you greedy.
Because the moment this draft decision hit, social media didn't just react. It exploded, and it wasn't just casual disagreement. It turned into full-on debates, arguments, threads, breakdowns, and emotional posts from every direction. Some fans defended the move, saying it adds defensive depth, toughness, and rotation flexibility. Others looked at it and basically said, "This doesn't make sense at all." And once that split forms, things never stay quiet for long. Because now every angle gets amplified. Every quote gets analyzed. Every roster detail gets pulled apart like it's a mystery waiting to be solved. And when a team already sits under a spotlight like Indiana does right now, that amplification becomes 10 times louder. And the biggest reason all of this feels so intense is simple. Caitlin Clark.
People were really twerking it up. Oh my gosh, Amber and Kelly, they're doing such a good job. No, they're incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. Caitlin Clark, get away from Indiana immediately.
When you have a player with that level of attention, emotional investment from fans goes through the roof. It's not just about winning or losing anymore. It becomes personal. Every roster move feels connected to her future. Every decision feels like it either supports her or complicates her path. So naturally, the conversation escalates quickly. What starts as "I don't like this pick" turns into "What is this franchise doing?" And then suddenly it becomes "This entire direction is a problem." That's how fast narratives shift when expectations are this high. And when you zoom out, that's where the bigger question sits. Is Indiana building for right now, or are they trying to protect every possible future scenario at the same time? Because there's a clear tension here. On one side, you have a win-now superstar who changes everything. On the other side, you have a roster that sometimes looks like it's being built with caution instead of aggression. Like it's preparing for multiple outcomes instead of fully committing to dominance in the present. And that creates contradiction, because you can't fully chase caution and full dominance at the same time. At some point, you have to choose the identity. Right now, it's not fully clear what that identity is. Is this a rebuild disguised under a superstar? Is this a reset happening faster than expected? Or is this just a series of decisions that look more disconnected than intentional? That uncertainty is what's driving everything right now. Because the final truth is simple. Nothing about this roster feels fully settled. Nothing feels completely defined. And until that changes, every move, especially big draft decisions, will keep getting questioned. And that's where everything lands. A franchise with massive attention, massive expectations, and a direction that still feels like it's trying to define itself in real time. Remove the icons from video.